Heart&Slash has a lot of things going for it. It stars an adorable robot friend, it takes place in a compelling futuristic world, and it mixes roguelike elements with the fun of old-school hack-and-slash action games. It's a fast-paced adventure with nearly 100 weapons and customizations, all with different moves and ways of being upgraded. It's the kind of game I'd normally rave about. There's just one problem. I absolutely hate Heart&Slash. This is a game about a robot who wakes up 100 years after the Revolution and is thrown into a randomly generated world filled with mechanical bad guys. The little guy will pick up weapons and fight through a number of simple maps filled with both danger and loot. But beware, this is a roguelike. Once Heart powers down for good, you'll need to start the game over from the beginning with only the unspent experience points left to help. The game hopes you'll want to keep jumping back into the world and discover all the new weapons and enemies. And, to the game's credit, Heart&Slash has a lot of both. I was constantly uncovering new guns, swords, and hammers, all of which get added to my collection and randomly placed in the levels with each run. Heart is able to hold up to 3 weapons at once and switch at a moment's notice. This allows for a lot of satisfying combos where you're switching from one weapon to the next to unleash hell. The variety of weapons and items is the real star of the show. You'll find that even similar-looking swords will have radically different power moves. What's more, you can dump experience points into every weapon and accessory, giving our hero some super robot moves. It's a great idea that should have translated into an exciting action game. But boy, did this game let me down. I spent hours trying my hardest to not actively hate Heart&Slash, and I'm here to tell you, I failed. This game is punishingly difficult. I don't mean in the Dark Souls kind of way, where it requires practice and patience to prevail in a harsh world. I mean that every aspect of the game is working against you to create the most maddeningly frustrating experience you'll find this year. Do you like cheap hits? This game is full of them. It's also teeming with unbalanced enemies, limited health pickups, and a whole host of technical problems. One of the most glaring problems is the camera, which spends a lot of time swinging wildly out of control. Part of the problem is that the arenas are often in small and cramped locations, so the camera is never sure what it should be looking at. This means that you'll spend as much time fighting the camera as you are fighting off-screen enemies. There's nothing worse than being shot at from enemies you can't even see. This brings me to an even bigger problem. It's not just that our cute little robot keeps getting hit from off-screen projectiles, it's that those shots take a lot of damage. We only start with 6 hearts, so an attack that takes 2 or 3 of those hearts is a big deal, especially since you start over from the very beginning when you die. This problem is compounded with the boss fights, where some of the attacks can take more than half of your health. It's not fun rushing into a situation and immediately dying, and I found that kind of thing happening constantly. The sparse health pickups only help to make the problem worse. Sure, you'll run into a box or an enemy that'll refill your health, but it's usually only 1 or 2 hearts. That's nothing when the next attack will take half of your health. The game wants you to recycle your equipment to refill hearts, but that doesn't give back much life, and ditching the gear only leaves you in a worse situation. Recycling a shield for 1 lousy heart is pointless when every single enemy attack takes more than that. And then there are the random issues. No, I don't mean the technical hiccups and frame rate drops, though those aren't helping anything. I'm talking about how random weapons are dropped in the stages for each run. That's great if you start with 2 or 3 great weapons, but it's completely useless if all you get are boxing gloves and a duck costume. Any one of these problems would have given me major pause, but the fact that all of this works together to create a perfect storm of terrible action makes it nearly unplayable. Just when it starts to click, I'm immediately killed by a lone bullet or a swarm of enemies I wasn't expecting. The fact that the game doesn't even ease you into the action with less aggressive enemies makes me wonder who Heart&Slash is even for. I'm of the mind that today's games are too easy and often yearn for old school action, but it has to be fair. Throwing powerful enemies at you from the start and giving you almost no health items is not fair. I'm sure there's a good game deep down inside this frustrating action game. I'm sure that with some balancing and a lot of changes to the camera, this could be an interesting hack-and-slash roguelike. But that's not the game that's for sale today. Heart&Slash has a cute look and likable hero, but unless you like throwing your controller against the wall in frustration, I would avoid this unnecessarily sadistic action game. Hi, thanks for watching our review. You know, after I wrote this review, I decided to check out what other people were saying about Heart&Slash. I gotta admit, I was floored to discover YouTubers and Let's Players raving about the game, talking about how it's one of their favorite action games of the year. So, who knows? Maybe it'll turn out that I'm the only one that had a miserable time with it. I hope everybody else loves it, because I sure didn't. Anyway, we have a bunch of reviews going up next week, including a look at Knee Deep. I think that's what it's called. So, do me a favor and click the subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.